Kenyans are very sick, and not only sick but also tired about the William Ruto regime. And that is why you are saying about the must go thing that has been championed by
everywhere.
Kenyan.
Every Kenyan is talking about it.
Kenyan. I think maybe you are the only one who will vote for him. But I don't know.
I can't vote for William Ruto. I can't vote for Ruto. Truth be told, I can't vote for.
What if appoints you to be a CS in his government?
There is nothing like what if. There is nothing like what if. I can't vote for William Ruto.
You are serious?
You know what is happening is that okay. We try to look at our lives here, like what are we going through?
Yeah.
And who has put us to go through what we are going through?
Yeah.
If it's someone that, if there is something that we can be done to take that person out of the picture, we better do it.
Exactly.
And in as much as we are champion, as a media house, I normally say that as a media house, we are not confined that we support a
You're supposed to be objective.
We are just neutral.
Sitting on the fence.
Sitting on the fence. That is why everybody needs to know what is happening in the media. And that is why you find that some of these media houses, they've been turned into, I don't know how to put it, like they can be controlled.
Yeah.
They don't give a clear picture. They don't give a clear information of how things have happened.
Yeah.
That is why sometimes you find that right now, even watching news is just a waste of time.
Exactly.
What is in the news already has been out here.
Exactly.
So on my opinion, I don't know, maybe my other people will, but for me, I stand just the same way Edwin Sifuna that even on my deathbed, I cannot support William Samoei Ruto. A very good afternoon and welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino and as usual I'm going to be your host for today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad here to host, once again to host Thomas Omwao, and of course you know him, so I just want us to go direct to our discussion, and I want to ask him the first question, which is this. Omwao, a lot of things are happening in the country. And I want us to start. We have a lot of some of 4 or 5 things to talk about. But with the first one, we know very well that William Ruto is in Mount Kenya, the central, where he was being told, don't come. What do you have to say about Ruto's visit to Mount Kenya?
Thank you, Boniface, for this golden opportunity. And we have met again to talk about the current political happenings in the country.
Yeah.
As you're aware, the president is in the Mount Kenya region to continue popularizing his regime, which has faced quite a good number of ups and downs. You can bear me witness that since he assumed office in September of 2022, he has reshuffled the cabinet severally, more than any other head of state since this country gained independence. What I can say is that if you see someone is reshuffling a cabinet quite oftenly, it implies that things are not working, especially from his side. Okay. So what the president is trying to do is to show that he is still the president, that he is in control, and that everything is under his control as the head of state. So I've been watching the reception of the president in the Mount Kenya region, and from what I can see, the comments of the people of the mountain is that the president has got a lot of work to do. He has a lot of work to do because the reception is not good. Studying the dynamics before the president fall out with his former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, and now there's a big difference. And I'm even told that those crowds were paid to attend the president's his meetings. So this really tells us that the president has got some good homework to do.
So it's going to be a very tough time for him.
Very tough times ahead for the president.
So mentioning this issue of Ruto has lost Mlima, is it true that can we say that it's true?
That one is very true. That one is very true. Even the president had a tough time to explain to the people There's a journalist who asked the president why he fell out with the former deputy president and why he occasioned the impeachment of the president, why he was not able to assist him not to be impeached. The president had quite a difficult time to explain that to the people of the mountain.
But he explained that Rigathi Gachagua was fighting the juniors people like Itumbi and Ichung'wa.
But that was an ostensible reason, Boniface. He said that ostensibly to evade that question. I'm very much sure that the president was aware of what was taking place.
Yeah, he was.
And he had, Robert Greene has written extensively about the 48 laws of power. And law number 2 says that you don't have to outshine your master. And there is a point where Rigathi Jeffrey Gachagua was seen to be outshining his master. For example, the events that happened in Mombasa during the Gen Z uprising. You saw Rigathi Gachagua going to Mombasa to issue a press statement after the head of state had given a press statement in Nairobi. So that one was a disrespect to the president. And the president, being someone who understands these laws, had to take what he had to do to make sure that he goes home.
So in short, he was just trying to stop Rigathi Gachagua from going beyond, because he knew that if he doesn't stop him, then it will be a mess.
Exactly. But fortunately or unfortunately, since the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, the gentleman has been so popular than even when he was the deputy president. Yeah.
Now, I want us to talk about some of the 3 things because that one of Ruto visiting Mount Kenya, just by the way.
Okay.
Now, my first question is this: the Haiti mission. Right now, we don't know the number of soldiers that have died or the number of policemen that have been killed by the Haiti. And just recently, one of them got lost, I think, and the video went viral, the way he was being, after being killed, the way the Haiti guys were behaving with his body. Some people are claiming that he got lost. And we don't know how many of them. We only know now this one is the second one that they're telling us. And I saw their tankers being burned to ashes. So why is it that William Samoei is not talking about this issue of Haiti? And what is the reason behind Ruto taking these guys to Haiti?
Boniface, that question is coming at a time when the country has lost 2 souls to Haitian gangs. We have a professor of international relations by the name Hans Morgenthau. This professor has written extensively about politics among nations and also about scientific man versus power politics. With respect to these writings, this gentleman tells us that when nations interact on a global scale, they do so to satisfy their national self-interest. You've asked me a question, and I'll also ask you a question, which you'll answer later on. What's Kenya's interest in Haiti? Because, as Professor Morgenthau tells us, when nations react at a global scale, they do so to serve their national self-interest. It's very sad that from where I sit, Boniface, I want to mention that as a country, as Kenya, I don't really see what's our interest in Haiti. What I can say is that someone's self-interest is being served. And our young Kenyans are losing lives because when you're seeing at the kind of people who die, they are young souls. They are youth, 25 to 30 years, are people who have a promising future. And I think the problem that we have as Kenyans is that we have refused to voice our concerns, especially when it comes to issues like this. In 1993, that is October, the United States of America, then under President Bill Clinton, sent its soldiers to Somalia to fight the Somali National Alliance. This was a rebel movement that was against the West. And Boniface, I want to tell you what happened in Somalia is that that war was very tough. That was when the American soldiers put their foot in Somalia. What the Somali National Alliance did is that they captured 2 soldiers, only 2, and they killed them. And what they did, they tied their heads at the back of trucks and started dragging their bodies at the streets of Mogadishu.
So they were dragging the bodies.
So the bodies were tied with ropes at the head.
And so like the neck.
Exactly.
The neck has been tied by the rope. Behind
a truck.
A truck.
And this truck was driven at a very high speed.
And then but then they were dead.
They were dead.
Okay.
And these trucks were driven at a breakneck speed. So what the Somali National Alliance did is that they made these videos available to Western media. You know what happened in America? People demonstrated and they told Bill Clinton, we don't want our soldiers in Somalia. Kindly bring back our sons and daughters. So that was public perception. What am I trying to say? What is the role of public perception in shaping domestic policy issues? I really believe that as Kenyans, we need to voice our concerns, especially about the Haitian crisis. And I've told you that from where I sit, I don't really think whether we have any interest in Haiti because we are not trading with Haiti.
Yeah, we are not.
We are not exporting anything to Haiti.
That's true.
We are not taking any minerals to Haiti. So what are our sons and daughters doing in Haiti? I eavesdropped somewhere. Someone mentioned that some good amount of cash was paid, yeah, in quotes, to the Kenyan government by the American government, so that these boys could go to Haiti to serve the interests of the United States of America.
But who received the money? Who received that money? That is the question. Okay, money was given by the former government, Biden administration, to the Kenyan government, being led by William Ruto.
You know what's happening is that the United States of America is facing a serious immigration crisis. Whereby a lot of Haitians are migrating to the United States of America.
Okay.
So the reason as to why the Kenyan soldiers are in Haiti is to serve the interest of US, so as to stabilize the country and also stop the issue of immigration to the United States.
But don't you think that the moment Biden was got out of office, the president, this project could have stopped, because Biden together with William Ruto were the ones that were doing this.
Exactly.
And then Trump is coming in. Trump is saying that I cannot offer any support to any soldier in Haiti. So it means that this business was between the former government and the Kenyan's government.
And the Kenyan government.
Yeah. Why didn't they just decide to stop this issue and bring our soldiers back?
You know, now that's why I'm saying that as Kenyans, we really need to voice our concerns. And I've mentioned something to do with public perception in shaping the domestic policy choices. Okay. I believe that as a country, we don't have any interest in Haiti. And what I can mention is that this has been occasioned because we don't have experts, especially at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that is charged with coming up with foreign policy choices. I can say most probably the workers or the employees at that docket are either ghost workers or they don't know what they are doing. Because since William Ruto assumed power in 2022, we have done a lot of diplomatic blunders. Talk about DRC. In 2023, Nairobi hosted Colonel Nangaa, the guy who wants to depose Felix Tshisekedi from power in Kinshasa. Talk about the Sudan crisis. We hosted the RSF here at KICC. Talk about what is happening in even here in Sudan, South Sudan,
where Raila is trying to come in and
he was denied access.
Denied
access to see Riek Machar. So I believe there is a serious problem at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I think it's because those who have the expert knowledge of handling our foreign policy issues have not been given that portfolio. So for example, we have this lady who is charged with advising the president on security matters, Monica Juma, has an extensive knowledge in foreign policy issues. She's someone that is up to the task. Why can't she be given that role to drive this country forward. The other day, the president was saying that if you believe whatever appointments are making are not right, wait for your time.
Yeah. You say that. That if you feel like what the appointment that I'm making that does not satisfy your interest, wait for your time.
You see, Boniface, I think that there's a serious problem in this country, and we are not getting all the information from Haiti.
Yeah,
we have a lot of casualties. About deaths, we only know 2.
Yeah.
That's what has been mentioned. That's what has been made.
And these guys, they only tell us what they feel like we need to hear.
But behind the curtains, we don't know what's happening. I like following. There's a platform that I normally follow from Haiti, which indicates whereby I get first-hand information of what's happening from that country. We are having a lot of casualties. Many Kenyans are getting injured. Many soldiers are getting injured day in, day out. So I don't know how many young Kenyans will die, and the regime will say that now let's withdraw.
Perhaps maybe it's sacrifice, and we don't know.
You see, and to make matters worse, the second Kenyan who was killed, it's believed that he is in the hands of the Haitian gangs. So they want to use him as a negotiating power with the regime in Haiti. So that's now the worst part of it.
But he's dead.
He's dead, but they are holding the...
Why are they holding the body?
You see, we have our general. He's still alive. He's called General Daniel Opande. Was one of the Kenyan Defense Forces, a celebrated icon. There's a time that he was leading a UN mission in Sierra Leone, sometimes back in 2008, 2007. And some Kenyan soldiers were killed in the line of duty, and they were held captive by those gangs in Sierra Leone. And now they were fighting in the forest. Do you know what Daniel Opande did? He just said he just had to approach those gangs and told them, it's either you give my soldiers alive or dead. And if you have killed them and buried them, I want you to show me where you've buried them, the gravesite, so that we exhume the bodies and take them back home for burial. It was not easy. It was not easy. And now the negotiating issue was that if at all they wanted those bodies, then they had to withdraw the troops from Sierra Leone. So most probably the Haitian gangs are holding that body so that they can negotiate with the Haitian government, so that the Kenyan troops can be
taken out of
Haiti.
But Thomas, why can't the government just take them? Because they have got there's nothing they're doing there that benefits Kenyans.
The moment you sign a contract, that is a binding agreement between you and the person that is signing.
And who sent the president to go and sign the contract?
So if the contract was signed that these soldiers must be here for 1, 2, or 3 years, then most probably they must that contract must be binding.
There is nothing as painful as signing a contract of death. And you just know that this one is either you come back alive or dead.
Yeah, so that's why I believe that we are having misplaced priorities because even our foreign policy choices are misplaced. Because as I mentioned, I don't know what's our interest. Maybe if you know one, you can tell me.
We don't have any. That's why I've said that William Ruto could have just taken these troops out of Haiti.
We don't have an interest in Haiti, and that's why as Kenyans, we even need to come out in large numbers and protest and say that we want our sons and daughters back at home.
One thing I know is that perhaps maybe all these are William Ruto's interests. He wants to be seen as a powerful man.
Exactly. And who knows that he was even paid?
Who knows whether he was even paid by them?
Yeah. So that's what we need to ask. And when you see the families of the departed souls, they are seriously grieved. You cannot have a peace of mind, Boniface, when you see in online media platforms that the photos and videos of your loved one is being circulated. And that's traumatizing. It's really traumatizing.
That's true.
So I believe we have individuals who have misplaced priorities, especially at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because this is why you are seeing these diplomatic blunders day in, day out, and they really need to be called out.
Let me ask you. Let us combine this with this question of the military and politics. We had Kariri saying that the Kenyan police and the military is of course we know that they are non-government. They are not supposed to say anything in politics. They should stand on their own. But he's saying that if Kenyans are going to say Ruto must go, they're supposed to say it according to the constitution. Now, which constitution allows the military to talk about politics in a country?
Okay, thank you, Boniface. I have read extensively about civil military relations, and with respect to that subject, the military are supposed to remain in the barracks and only defend the country during an external aggression.
That's right.
Then recently I saw Charles Kahariri, the chief of our defense forces, coming out loud and clear and telling Kenyans that they should not be talking about William Ruto going home. He says this at a time when Kenyans are extremely angered about the conduct of the government, about poor foreign policy decisions by the government, about tough economic times in this country, and the chief of defense forces is talking that he's telling us that they are trying to protect the constitution. They are trying to protect a constitutionally elected president from being sent home by Kenyans.
Yeah.
In other words, what the chief of defense forces was trying to tell us is that they are trying to protect the president and also protect the constitution. But what the chief of defense forces failed to tell us is are they protecting the constitution selectively? Because Boniface, you can attest to me the fact that Article 3.1 of the Kenyan Constitution says that each and every Kenyan has a right to uphold and also protect the constitution. And now Article 3.2 says that any formation of government outside what the constitution dictates is unlawful. As you are aware, currently we have a joint government formed by President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, an ODM opposition figurehead. And the constitution is very clear that you are only supposed to form a government if you win it through the popular initiative. Now, here comes an opposition figurehead joining hands with the government to form another government, which is unconstitutional with respect to Article 3.2 of the Constitution. And now the chief of military is not talking about that. So, again, Boniface, you are aware that we have a Speaker of the National Assembly who is also a party head, a party leader of Ford Kenya, which is unconstitutional. The courts have pronounced themselves about that question, that it's unconstitutional for a party leader to hold a public office. Why is it that Charles Kahariri, the head of military, is not calling out that as unconstitutional? Does it imply that they are protecting the constitution selectively?
Yeah, of course. That's what we can say.
What I want to say is that
you know, before you say that, one thing I know is that these guys are not protecting the constitution. They are protecting the man behind the constitution.
They are protecting the man behind the constitution.
Yeah.
But this is what I want to mention, and I want to say it loud and clear. Kenyans have pronounced themselves that they don't want anything to do with this regime because this is a regime that has made life extremely difficult for Kenyans. Kenyans are hanging from tight economic ropes. In fact, I can say that they are living at the very bottom of the barrel because of the punitive taxes that have been brought by this regime. You've seen opulence, grandiose display of opulence by the leaders, by the ministers, the CSS, the members of parliament, allied to the president. So this is why Kenyans are not happy. And the elections of 2027 will be the regime against Kenyans. And Kenyans have made a decision that they don't want William Ruto. And that's now the clarion call by most Kenyans. And no one is going to assist him. No one is going to help him. Even Raila Odinga. Actually, I can say that Raila Odinga has sensed defeat 2027. That's why he doesn't want to confirm that he's in government or in opposition. In one leg he's in government, the other one he's outside government.
But can you trust that old man? Serious not.
What I can say is Raila cannot work with William Ruto beyond 2027. At some point, he's going to bolt out with his troops.
Yeah,
because he has sensed that Kenyans don't want anything to do with this regime. And as I mentioned here last time, this election is not going to be rigged. Boniface, it's not going to be rigged because it will be very difficult to rig these elections. Kenyans have pronounced themselves loud and clear that we are sick, and not only sick but also tired by this regime's policies. You see, there is the largest constituency of Kenyans that has pay slips. Professor Fred Ogola has mentioned that a few minutes ago, that the president raided their pay slips. So, how are Kenyans going to gain their trust?
How are you going to figure out on what to do next?
On what to do next? So I think there's some. The president needs to work extremely hard if indeed he has to get a second term.
Okay, as we wind up, can you talk about this issue of economic crisis? Because a lot of people are crying. Everybody, not a lot of people, almost everybody is crying.
Boniface, a few minutes ago you've interviewed Professor Fred Ogola about the economic crisis in this country, and I liked how he was arguing, how he was bringing up about his points. You see, our CS for Treasury, John Mbadi, is using two major tools to raise resources for this regime. The first tool is taxation, high taxation, and the second tool is borrowing. From IMF, talk about World Bank, talk about
from third world countries,
from developed countries. So I don't really think if increasing tax revenues is a way of increasing taxes is a way of increasing tax revenues. I don't really think that because if you increase taxes, it will imply that people will not have that purchasing power. Boniface. They not have the purchasing power. So
because money will be lacking.
So Kenyans are currently are living at the very bottom of the barrel because they are hanging from extremely tight economic ropes. You see, I might be going out and about my official duties, and you get up to 10-15 people. This one is telling you, kindly assist me 500, kindly assist me 1,000, kindly. That shows that Kenyans are really suffering, Boniface. See? And that one is not good, especially for this country. I believe what this government needs to do is to pay bending bills. Professor mentioned about that. Because if you pay bending bills, it will imply that there'll be circulation of money in the economy. The private sector will create opportunities for young Kenyans. So if bending bills are paid, then most likely we'll have a circulation of money in the market. And Kenyans will be working, going about their normal duties, about their normal course. But now here comes a case whereby the government is heavily borrowing. The government is heavily taxing Kenyans.
Honestly, more than they can swallow.
Honestly, Kenyans are getting strangled by this regime. And that's why they are extremely angered. And that's why they just don't want anything to do with this regime. And I think it's going down the annals of history as the only regime to serve for 5 years term, for one term. For only having served us for only 5 years.
5 years.
And if he comes back the Trump way, that is a question of another.
Do you think he can come back? Do you think he's allowed to come back?
Maybe he can.
Kenyan constitution.
Maybe he can lose this and vie another one. He's allowed. He's allowed to do it. He's allowed to vie.
But the question is, will Kenyans elect him? That's a question.
That's now a question. That's a question of another day.
That's a question of that. Can Kenyans elect? And by the way, we just we have interviewed Fred just some minutes ago.
Yes.
And he's among the people that are vying for the presidency.
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Like, because he's an economist. He's smart. He knows, I think he can balance between politics and economy. What do you think?
Boniface,
Does he stand a chance?
I have told Professor Fred Ogola a few minutes ago before he left that he has great ideas to turn around the economy of this country. And if he goes to the presidency as a lone ranger, then most probably he might have a Herculean task. So my advice to him is that he really needs to come together with other like-minded Kenyans.
So they also form a coalition?
They form a coalition with other like-minded Kenyans. Talk about Kalonzo Musyoka, talk about Martha Karua, talk about Fred Matiang'i, talk about the former vice president. If they come up with a formidable coalition to face William Ruto, then I think whoever that will be chosen to be the flag bearer of that coalition will be elected by Kenyans because Kenyans are sick and tired about this regime. Then if it's Fred Ogola, well and good. If it's Fred Matiang'i, well and good.
Maraga is also there.
If it's Elder Maraga, well and good.
Why do you call him elder?
He's actually an elder of my church. He's an elder of my church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and if that coalition wins the elections, then Fred can be given the docket of treasury. Then he can transform. He can transform our economic agenda from that point of view.
So it's not just focusing to become the president. You're very smart in economy. You can manage.
I've told him that, and I know he's going to watch this clip. It will be very tough for him to win the presidency of this country, especially being his first time. Raila Odinga has tried 6 times.
And has failed.
Terribly. So how can you convince me that Professor Fred Ogola can come and win in his first term? That one I'll be lying to him, and as a political scientist, I'm trained to speak the reality and speak facts. He needs to come and team up with a coalition of like-minded Kenyans so that they can topple this regime. And this one, I want to advise all these people who want to be president of this country. They must now put aside their ego. Now it will be the country first. You see, if they are not going to be united, Boniface, they'll meet their Waterloo in 2027.
That's true.
Because William Ruto is a smart politician and he can do anything within his capacity, including but not limited to sponsoring other people to vie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I can just decide to sponsor to split the votes
as state projects. State projects.
Yeah.
But if these people put aside their ego, you see, I mentioned here last time that in the run-up to the elections of 2002, there were 3 former presidential aspirants in 1997 who put aside their ego and decided to front one person. That was Kijana Wamalwa, Charity Ngilu. See, we had Raila Odinga. They said now we want to support Mwai Kibaki these elections, and they defeated the state candidate. So that's why I'm really stressing that those who want to occupy the top portfolio and occupy the office along State House Road on the hill, the house on the hill, they really need to put aside their ego
and work together
for the common purpose. And if they form a formidable coalition to face William Ruto, it will be very difficult for William Ruto to rig these elections. I remember I talked about the theory of a democratic renaissance in the African continent that worked out very clear the last elections. I believe elections are won on the ballot. Many countries have shown that in the African continent. Zambia showed that, Malawi showed that, Angola showed that. The other day in Botswana, the young gentleman, Gideon Boko, was elected through the Popular Initiative. So, and according to our current constitutional dispensation, I don't believe that this vote can be rigged. It will be very difficult. Kenyans are very sick, and not only sick, but also tired about the William Ruto regime. And that is why you are saying about the must go thing that has been championed by
everywhere.
Kenyan.
Every Kenyan is talking about
Every
it.
Kenyan. I think maybe you are the only one who will vote for him. I don't know.
I can't. I can't vote for William Ruto. I can't vote for Ruto. Truth be told, I can't vote for.
What if I appoint you to be a CS in his government?
There is nothing like what if. There is nothing like what if. I can't vote for William Ruto.
You are serious?
You know what is happening is that okay. We try to look at our lives here, like what are we going through, and who has put us to go through what we are going through. If it's someone that if there is something that we can be done to take that person out of the picture, we better do it.
Exactly.
And in as much as we are champion, as a media house, I normally say that as a media house, we are not confined that we support a politician.
We're supposed to be objective.
We are just neutral.
Sitting on the fence.
On the fence. That is why everybody needs to know what is happening in the media, and that is why you find that some of these media houses, they've been turned into, I don't know how to put it, like they can be controlled. They don't give a clear picture. They don't give a clear information of how things have happened. That is why sometimes you find that right now, even watching news is just a waste of time.
Exactly.
What is in the news already has been out here.
Exactly.
So on my opinion, I don't know, maybe my other people will, but for me, I stand just the same way Edwin Sifuna used to say, that even on my deathbed, I cannot support William Samoei Ruto. Thomas, your last statement as we wind up.
My fellow Kenyans, the holy book of the Bible, that is Jeremiah 29. The author of that book says that God has our plans, and the plans for prosperity. I believe that Kenyans are currently living at the very bottom of the barrel, hanging from from extremely tight economic ropes by the punitive taxes that has been brought about by this regime. But it's my prayer that going forward, Kenyans are given the wisdom so that they choose leaders that don't put their personal interests first, but put the interests of the people and the country first. That's what I want to say, Boniface.
So it's all about putting the interest of people first.
Yeah, the interests of people
that you are leading, not just people.
Yeah, because the Holy Book says that service to humanity is also service to God. Yeah.
Can you repeat the last statement?
Service to humanity is service to God. So we need to get leaders that put the interests of the people first, then their personal interests come second.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Exactly, Boniface.
What I can say is that whenever you hold a phone, trying to make a phone call maybe to someone, and then you realize that the phone call is not going through, like the other end is not receiving, the phone is not even ringing, you must check. Maybe You put your phone on a flight mode without you knowing. That is all I have for today. Until we meet again in the next video, if it is possible. I have been your host for today. Bye-bye.